Are you considering divorce? Are you dealing with it now? Are you on the other side and not sure what comes next? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Divorce Do's and Don'ts Show with your host, Lisa C. Decker.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lisa Decker, certified divorce financial analyst and real estate collaboration specialist in divorced. And I am the host and CEO and founder, the host of this show, the Divorce Do's and Don'ts Show. We're happy you're here today. And I am the founder of Divorce Money Matters and Divorce Town USA, the host of this show. I'd like to introduce you to my executive assistant and co-host, Marcella Kripe, who helps behind the scenes and during the show. So Marcella, what can we expect today?
Thank you, Lisa. So this week we're talking to a fellow win-win host, Karen Seltz. She has a master's of education in counseling. She's a certified life coach, a licensed brain gym consultant, a speaker and author with more than 25 years of combined experience. As a former comedian, Karen is able to share her journey from depression, addiction, and self-hatred to self-compassion, self-acceptance, and self-love, vulnerably and with a touch of humor on countless stages and podcasts. And today, she's sharing her story with all of us. Welcome to the show, Karen.
Thank you, Marcella. Thanks, Lisa. It's great to be here.
Oh, we are happy to have you. Tell us the name of your show on the Win-Win Network, by the way.
It's Irresistible You, Ignite Your Passion and Purpose. It's on Thursday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific.
Excellent. Well, folks, if you like what you hear here, you can pick up more of Karen on her channel at the Win-Win Network. So Karen, I'm so excited that you're here today because, you know, we have a lot of people who are dealing with addictions themselves or with their spouses or children or other family members. It's just an epidemic in our country. I know personally my family has been affected by it. And so can you tell us, before we get into the crux of the matter here, tell us a little bit about your journey, whatever you feel comfortable sharing, and your husband's addiction, and you know how you came to be there and how you came to be here now, the person that you've become today.
Yeah, there's a lot of meat in there.
Mm-hmm.
So when I had my second daughter, she was premature. And by the time she was 1 year old, she had 20 different medical specialists. Oh. And I was working part-time. I had another daughter, and my husband was drinking and not present emotionally. And she was about to have a major surgery where they took a quarter of her skull out of her head, reshaped it, and put it back. And I was freaking out. And I really didn't think I could handle it. And I was thinking, like, I am going to die. Like, I cannot handle this. And I went for a massage, and I happened to get a man, and everything that I had shut off. My addiction was sex, by the way. So I had like just completely shut off that part of me, and my body came back online that day. And I started seeking comfort outside of my relationship with other men sexually. And I found in that I was able to escape from my life where I felt I had no power. I felt very powerful because I was getting to choose who I was with. And it became an addiction really quickly. So fast forward, I actually got an STD, which had me come clean to my ex-husband because, you know, he probably had it. And I started in 12-step treatment, but I wasn't ready to quit acting out yet. So I went, you know, a couple years. In the meantime, my ex-husband was drinking more and more, especially after I told him. And things were just not good between us. So eventually we separated, and I kept continuing with my addictive behavior until it got so painful. I remember coming home one night. I had left my children. They were fairly young. to go meet a man for sex. And I came home and I caught a glimpse of myself in the bathroom mirror, and I just started screaming at myself, like, who are you? What are you doing to yourself? You cannot do this anymore. And I just fell. I fell down to my knees and I prayed for the first time in many years. And I just said, help me, help me. And I heard a voice say, get up, you were meant for more. So I got up, and that was the very last time I acted out. And that was over 7 years ago. So I did a lot of things in the meantime. I went to 12-step meetings. I, got a new sponsor. I started working the steps. But the thing that really had the greatest impact on me, I did when I was 3 years sober already. And that was a trauma release program that was called TIP, the Inspired Performance Program. And after doing that program, I went back to a 12-step meeting and I went to introduce myself and I said, hi, I'm Karen. And I just stopped in my tracks. I'm like, wait, no, I'm not. So the addict was completely erased from my DNA. Like it just wasn't present anymore. And it just seemed like a lie. I'm like, I'm not going to introduce myself as an addict anymore because it's not true. So from that point on, I haven't been to a 12-step meeting since, and it's been 4 years. It's just not who I am. Once the trauma was resolved, which I believe is the root of all addiction, then I was able to show up as who I am in the world. So that was a big part of it. And now I get to share that with other people. And especially in the United States, as a woman in sex addiction, I was often the only woman in the room. I was in a room full of men, and it was uncomfortable. It's not that acceptable. I don't think I'm alone. I just think not a lot of women would admit they have this issue.
Yes, you're very brave, and I appreciate that. The intimacy of sharing these details and being so honest will help others, because there are a lot of people who hide behind things because they feel afraid, alone, ashamed, and to know that you're not that only person, really can help someone else. And so the addiction comes in many shapes and forms. Most of us think of alcohol and drugs, but there is sex, there's gambling, there's shopping, there's all kinds of addictions. And as you said, a lot of them have roots in trauma. So I'm glad that you found something that works for you. And I'm a definite believer in trauma work, as one who has gone through trauma myself and comes from a long line of trauma. It does affect your genetic makeup, your epigenetics, what we were talking about before the show. So I'm happy to know that you found something that works for you. So our show, of course, is about divorce. So let's talk a little bit about, how was it divorcing another addict? What did you learn from that experience? And how can you best manage your expectations if you're divorcing an addict, or you're dealing with that yourself, of your ex, yourself, the divorce itself, and the future ahead?
Oh, wow. Yeah, great question. When I was active in my addiction, in 12-step, they say, like, you're really insane. You're temporarily insane. And so you had, in my case, it was two insane individuals trying to communicate, and it was just ridiculous. And even after I got my addiction under wraps, I wasn't acting out in my addictive behavior. I still had the mind of an addict. I really did. And I expected my ex to show up like a rational human being, and he wasn't at that place. So eventually I got my expectations under wraps. Like, I didn't expect him to be a father to my children because he didn't have capacity. And I love that word because it depersonalizes everything. He didn't have the capacity to be a father. And honestly, he still doesn't. And I've been divorced for 10 years. And my expectations were such that, like, anytime I would date somebody new, they would say, well, why doesn't he take the kids? And I'm like, I don't want him to because I don't feel like they're safe there.
Mm.
So my expectations are premeditated resentments. I'm going to say that one more time. Expectations are premeditated resentments. So anytime we expect somebody to do something, if they don't, we're angry, we're frustrated, we're like disappointed. And it becomes like poison for us. Whereas if we, at the very best they could do is to meet our expectation, and then we're not disappointed, we're not grateful, we're not happy. So it's best, in my experience, to not have these expectations other than, my kids are going to be safe. Things like that, I think, are perfectly fine. So it's a matter of looking at, what am I expecting here? Am I setting myself up for failure?
Mm. That's an interesting concept that you mentioned there. I hadn't really thought about that. Say that one more time. Expectations
Are premeditated resentments.
premeditated resentment. That's very profound. Wow. So what are some questions you can ask yourself before exchanging any communications with your ex?
I learned this the hard way, because especially in this world of texting, everything is a record. It's a permanent record. And I used to think, if my ex texts me, I have to respond right away. And somebody said, you don't. I'm like, what? I don't have to respond right away? You don't have to respond at all. I'm like, what? That's insane. So I'm going to share my screen. Oh, I can't. But I have some questions I would love to share with everybody, if you give me permission to share my screen, so
Yes.
that they can take a screenshot.
Marcella.
Go ahead, Karen. You should be able to now.
Okay, great.
Okay. Oops, hold on a second. I got to get this Zoom thingy out of the way. Okay. Okay, let me go back a couple. All right, so the first thing is, like, what is my intention in communicating? Like, what do I want to communicate and why? So I think it's really important to know the purpose. And for me, I get to know, like, what are the things I get to watch out for? What are my blind spots? And my big one is being right. Because I always think, if I'm right about this, then I matter, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But if you fall into this category, it's been a lot of years and I still catch myself trying to be right. So one of the things I practice is not being right, because if I'm right, that makes somebody else wrong. And I know that's not true. It's not possible, right? The next one is, do I have an expectation of what I want them to do or how I want them to respond? And again, that's what we just talked about. If I do, that's a premeditated resentment. So it's like getting that into check. And I invite you to take a screenshot of this, because these are really important. Because when we get in those, especially when we get triggered by something our ex says, our feathers get ruffled, it's good to take a beat. Take a breath, call somebody who won't let you be a victim for very long, because anytime we're victims, we are not able to create anything. We are at cause. We are at effect, not cause, So if you think about that, now I'm choosing what I want to experience in life. I'm not a victim of, if my ex does this, then I'll be happy or content. So question number 4 is, what is my energy like right now? Am I angry? Am I frustrated? Am I triggered? Or am I neutral? Am I loving? And you don't have to be loving to your ex. You get to be loving to yourself, which is the next thing. Sometimes if we respond in anger or frustration or any derivative of fear, any of those emotions, we're not honoring ourselves, our true selves, and who we are, who we want to be, who we choose to be. So is saying what I want to say, is it in alignment with my values? Is it in alignment with who I choose to be in this world? Because every morning when I wake up and do my meditation, I'm choosing like, okay, this is who I choose to be today. I choose to be loving. I choose to be powerful. I choose to be compassionate, whatever it is for you. And would I be embarrassed if my kids saw this, if my friends, my family, my colleagues, because they could see it. Anybody could see if you text or email your ex, anybody could see it. It could be admissible in a court. So you want to make sure you're in a clear, neutral space before you respond. And I would suggest asking yourself some or all of those questions.
Those are great questions. And, it doesn't just apply to an ex. It could be a family member. It could be a coworker. It's really about staying within our own selves, our own power, and not giving that away to someone else through our actions or reactions. So I really, really like that, Karen.
I love the way you put that. Yeah, exactly.
So what are some tips that you can give now for the best way to protect your kids and yourself in the future while you're going through a divorce, dealing with addiction on either side or both sides, and in the future?
Yeah, I wish I had thought this through. So it's kind of like we've heard the adage, like in parenting, begin with the end in mind. Well, when you're dealing with an addict, my best advice is to assume nothing is going to change for that addict, because you don't know if anything it will. I mean, I've been separated from my ex for 11 years and he just crashed another car. He's still drinking. So in my divorce decree, he had weekly alcohol testing that was random, court ordered, for 6 months. And after that, there was nothing in the decree. And so he didn't drink for 6 months. The second that was up, guess what happened? I mean, you can probably guess. Yeah, he started drinking again.
Seen it before. Yeah.
And there was nothing in the decree to protect me or the kids from that. So
how did you go back and talk to your lawyer about that? Anything come of that?
Well, I could have. What I did was I talked to my ex and I said, I just like laid down the law and he never fought me on it. I said, you will have supervised visits until you go through inpatient treatment. So I took the kids to his parents' house and he saw them there. And he never fought me. He never took me to court. I had lots of documentation. So also keep all correspondence in a file.
Absolutely.
Like he would get drunk at night and send me all these texts and emails, and they were not sane. They were ramblings of somebody who was intoxicated. So what I would say is just assume nothing's going to change and protect your kids that way. So put something in the decree that if he's drinking or if he's doing drugs or whatever, the drug of choice is, that you're protected, that the kids are protected and you don't have to go back to court. I got lucky, but I don't know that everybody would.
Yeah.
And maybe not, Karen, because I think sometimes people forget that your first line of defense is to go to your ex and try to have that conversation. In your case, you had the conversation, you laid down the law and he accepted it. And so that could very well happen in someone else's case where, that's as far as it has to go. But like you said, just in case, and to protect yourself and your children, to make sure everything, you have documentation.
Yeah. And another thing, like going into the future, I've gone through many times where my ex, every 3 weeks or so for 10 years, he would send me a slew of really nasty text messages and I would block him for a while. And then he would be at lunch with my kid and I would unblock him. But anyways, I made the conscious choice to permanently block him. He may not text me ever again. Because it's been 11 years we've been separated. I'm like, enough is enough. Nothing's changing. And it affects my energy when I see that. Even if I don't read them, I still I feel them. I know what they say. So I would say like an energetic shield around me where his negativity cannot penetrate it. The only thing I let in is love and light. And that way I can stay in a neutral place about him, and I can extend love to him and see him as if he's not lacking anything, which has taken me a long time to get to that place, especially because he's still drinking. And he sees one of my daughters once every couple weeks. The other one refuses to have a relationship with him. So, yeah.
And, as a person who, again, has had a lot of experience with friends, family, people I know dealing with all kinds of addictions, and children of those addicts, how do you speak to your kids about this? Because children of addicts have more susceptibility to become addicts, and especially from the adverse childhood experiences that they have that lead to their trauma, that leads to perpetuating this cycle of addiction over and over. What have you learned to help protect your children from carrying the legacy of addiction on?
Yeah, it depends on how old they are. Now, my kids are now 14 and 16. My youngest daughter has only one kidney, and she's the one that has all the medical issues. So she knows that if she chooses to drink alcohol, that is going to be an unpleasant life for her. She will probably end up in the hospital, living in the hospital, because she doesn't have the ability to even try alcohol. You know what I mean? It's not a luxury for her. And the other one, my older daughter, is really super smart, and she knows that if she tries alcohol, she could become addicted.
But there's other, and I get that, and that is fantastic because you're obviously having open conversations. But there's drugs, there's shopping, there's sex.
Right.
So when you have these conversations with your kids, because it's the same inherent places in the brain that are affected by every addiction. And so, making your children aware, and I've had this conversation with particular people that have to know about these things. It's something that I find we have to keep explaining to kids as they get older, and talk about the peer pressure and what they've been through and why it's important to work through the trauma, what you've been through. Have you done any trauma work with your kids? Because they were quite young, it sounds like, when all of this happened. But I'm just curious about those things.
Yeah, for sure. I've done trauma work with the youngest one. My oldest one is a little closed off to it right now. She talks to me about a lot of things. We go hiking and we talk, and she's just smart. That's all I could say. She's got a good head on her shoulders. And my younger one is looking to modify her appearance a lot to make herself feel better. She doesn't have the mental capacity of a regular child. So it's constant reinforcement for her of, okay, last time you changed your hair color, how long did you feel better about yourself? So it's reminding her that nothing outside of her is going to change how she feels inside. But it's not, putting it in her face, because we know that doesn't work. It's just asking the questions in a way that she can understand, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. That's great. I mean, even for adults, that makes sense. So it's wonderful that you are engaging with your children at their level, at a in a way that they can understand and feel comfortable with it. And sounds like you're coaching your children like you coach your clients. Tell me a little bit about your coaching process in our last minutes here.
Oh, sure. What I do is I help spiritual seekers stop seeking and start finding the divinity within. So I have a history of, I'm so well educated, it's ridiculous. Every free webinar, I was at it, taking copious notes. I have lots of degrees and certifications, because I never felt like I was enough. So I was always seeking something to make me feel better so that I could be the smartest person in the room or people couldn't stump me. And that was based on childhood stuff. You know, my brother's making me look stupid in front of others. And so I overcompensated for that. And I found that a lot of people are constantly seeking and they're not taking any time to sit and be quiet and listen to the guidance that's already there, to the wisdom that's within them, to what's available from God, universe, source. Always. It's always there. We just get to sit down and be quiet for a minute and ask the questions.
And that's hard in our world, right? To sit still.
For me, meditation is like prayer is talking to God. Meditation is listening to the answers, listening to what comes in, and then implementing it. So a lot of people, you know, like remember the movie The Secret? People thought, oh, if I put a picture of a car on a vision board, I'm going to get it. It's like, it doesn't work that way. It's like you get to communicate and you get to figure out what it is that you really want. What do you think that car is going to give you that you don't have now? Because anytime you think you're lacking anything, you're telling the universe, "Can you send me more lack?" Right? So it's a matter of being grateful for who you are and what you bring to the world and what you have already. Then you feel abundant and you feel connected to source, God, universe, and you have everything already. You just do. So it's a process of asking questions and getting clear on what you really want, why you want it, what do you think it's going to give you that you don't have, and then finding it within already. And stepping in. I'm really big on courage too, like stretching people out of their comfort zone, because everything you have is here inside your comfort zone. Everything you want is outside of it. So it's like tippy-toeing to the edge, going beyond it, and then stretching more and more until you have a huge comfort zone. And I like to have fun with it. You know, one of my favorite things to do if I'm in a rut is I go to an outdoor shopping place, and I ask a stranger to race. And I'm 54. I don't care. I'll go race a kid, and they're
You ask them to race? Is that what you
race. Like from here to there, let's go. It's hilarious. If you ask an adult, they're like, what? It's so bizarre.
It makes you laugh. It gets those endorphins going. It sounds like you're having a great time. I like that.
And I even win sometimes.
Well, Karen, it has been a pleasure having you on the show. Why don't you tell everyone again the name of your show and where they can find you?
Yes, it's Irresistible You, Ignite Your Passion and Purpose. My website is Karen Seltz, same as my name, SELTZ.com. And you can email me at Karen@KarenSeltz.com. I'm big on Facebook. I have lots of stuff on there. It's just under my name, Karen Seltz.
Well, we'll have to connect. All right.
Yes.
Well, thank you again, Marcella. Why don't you wrap us up here and tell us about some of the things, the resources that we have for folks, and who's our guest next week?
Sounds like a plan. So here we have the Divorcetown roadmap. This is available at divorcetownusa.com. This will help everyone to get to know your options. There are options out there. You don't have to fight it out in court like the old days. There's so many different and better ways to start this process now. And so we encourage you to download the ebook that comes with the roadmap at divorcetownusa.com. Second, Lisa has also put together a free divorce financial fitness kit. This kit includes an ebook. It includes 50 must ask attorney questions and every document you need to gather checklist, which is more like a working spreadsheet so that you can really get yourself organized, especially those financial documents, before you even start the process. Or if you've already started and you're feeling a little bit out of sorts, this will help you get better organized so that you can, again, have a much smoother and better divorce process, and hopefully an amicable or somewhat friendly one. Finally, another resource that we have available, this is national and it is no charge. is available through meetup.com. It is the Divorce Help and Hope Support Group. You can either register through meetup.com or you can go to Divorcetown USA. And we try to always keep our next meetings up there where you can register through divorcetownusa.com as well. Just like the show, the support group is also sponsored by Divorcetown USA. So that's usually a good place to go to find all of these resources. Finally, next week, we're going to talk a little bit over the next couple of weeks about socially responsibly investing and spending. So we're going to start next week with our guest, Tammy Bruin, who's also a Divorcetown member. She's a financial advisor and she specializes in socially responsible investing and helping women post-divorce. So please tune in to our show next week. We look forward to having you all, and we want to thank you all for being part of our show today with us. Thanks, everyone.
And thank you, Marcella, and thank you, Karen, for being our guest. And we look forward to seeing you next week here, same time, same place.